We'll get started. First question, Mark Berman.
Hey, Rafael, how are you?
Hey, Mark, I'm good.
James said in his news conference that y'all worked with him internally to help him get where he wanted to get in Brooklyn. Can you take us through the process and how y'all kind of worked with him on that situation, if indeed that's accurate?
It's definitely accurate that I work with James and we did organizationally. I don't think I want to take you through the process, but we do our best to work with all our players in every circumstance, and this was not an exception.
Jonathan Fagan.
Rafael, what led to the decision to trade James, and when did you arrive at that?
The decision to trade James, was that the question?
Yes.
It was communication with James. I think, it's always about what's best for the organization. And I think, we had a lot of dialogue with him, and then we had a lot of dialogue internally. And I think we fundamentally came to the decision that, assuming we were able to do a trade that made sense for the organization, that we would do it. And so I think it's just that simple.
Did you go into the season hoping that you would not be trading him, that he would want to stay? Or did it just take that amount of time to get the deal that you were willing to say yes to?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say that you're always, from my perspective, I try and stay open to every possibility at all times until a final decision is reached. But no, it would not be right that we went and we were delaying in hope. That would not at all be accurate.
Well, I didn't mean delaying, but did you hope?
I think the answer to your question is no. I think we were engaged in the process prior to the season, and nothing really changed until the day that we did the deal.
Thank you.
Tim McMahon.
Hey, Rafael. What ultimately led you to deciding that the offer from the Nets was the best offer instead of a deal that might have had a young franchise cornerstone type of player in it?
I don't think it's kind of appropriate to talk about the other deals. I will say what's super exciting about this deal is it gives us flexibility in the NBA. Picks, especially high picks, are the best currency. Everybody likes them. Everybody values them. So that was great organizationally. It gave us flexibility to do different types of deals as they come up this year, next year, whatever. And then we were able to get Victor Oladipo as part of it, along with Rody and Dante. But Victor's a guy we're really excited about, and I think he's excited to be here, and we think he's very talented, and so that was not insignificant from our perspective.
And with Victor, obviously he's in the last year of his contract. How do you see him fitting now, and what's kind of the evaluation process that you'll be going through with him over these next few months?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fit. I think it's fit, right, for him and for us and for everybody, But your hope is that it's a perfect marriage, and that and he's an extremely talented player. He's a two-way player. He's played at an extraordinarily high level. He obviously took a significant injury, and he's back. He's already really, really good, but I think in his own mind and in ours, there's still room to grow, which is really exciting. And it's just fit with him and Steven and the crew, and so I think for him and for us, this is like a really exciting time where we get to see how it works out, and hopefully it just works out gangbusters, and then we take it from there.
Saman Ali.
Rafael, according to reporting, you guys were in serious discussions about James Harden leading up to Tuesday. Did his comments after the two Lakers losses accelerate the need to make a trade?
They did not affect me at all. I don't know. In a trade, there are multiple parties, right? So I have no idea if it affected other teams, but I can guarantee you it did not affect us.
Adam Spolin.
Rafael, this team has kind of been in championship mode for the last handful of years. What is the goal for the remainder of this season?
just to be extremely competitive. I mean, we have a group that I'm really excited to see. I think a lot of our fans are really excited about. Not just our vets, not just Victor and John, but also, our young players, Christian and 𝗖𝗓𝗏, even like KJ and Mason, who both played well the last couple of games. So I think we have a really interesting crew, and I think our goal is to compete and really put a fun team on the court that really gets after it. And I think there's been a rough start to the year, not just for our team, but for the whole league, right? And so we're at some real disadvantages in terms of practice time and ability to gel and everything else. And so Steven and our coaches are going to have to work, overtime to put our offense in, to put our defense in, to get the guys on the same page. But I know they're excited about the challenge. I know our team's excited about it. And yeah, our goal is just to go out there and compete. And I think I think we're going to be a very fun and competitive team.
Is it your expectation that the core you have today, that's the core you're going to start next season with?
Kind of similar to my first comment, I do my best not to do that type of thing. It's not to say it's a no. It's like, why would I forecast today what I'm going to think in 9 months? So, I don't know how to answer that other than like, that's just not the way I think.
𝗖𝗓𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧.
Hey, Rafael, as you look at this roster, how would you assess the blend of talent, your youth experience, and how would you assess that fit going forward overall?
I mean, in theory, we really like it, right? We think we have really interesting young players. We think we have really interesting vets, none of whom are particularly old. I really like it. I think there's a lot of optionality. I think the crew can fit together well. I think we have a ton of two-way players. We'll have to see how it all works out, but I think we're very excited about this group, and to see once they've had a chance to get together, to get to know each other, to play together, to see what they can do.
Christy Rican.
As I'm sure you realize, when you trade away one of the best players in the league like James, there's going to be a lot of fans that aren't happy. But I wondered, what would be your message to the fans about what you got in return and how that will help the team maybe get to the championship goals that that the Rockets have had for years?
James is a great player, like full stop, period. So, and he's been with us for 8 years, and he worked the 8 years he was here. His work ethic was incredible. So, I would never tell any of our fans anything bad about James. The flip side is, our goal remains unchanged, and I think we're well positioned to develop something really special. It's not super different from when we did the introductory press conference. I wasn't exactly sure what special would be then. I'm not exactly sure what it'll be now, but I do think that the flexibility we have organizationally is really interesting, and hopefully we can do really, really good things with it. And I do like the players we have on our team right now. And I think as our fans get to know them, I think they're really going to like it too. So that's what I would say.
Christos Saltis.
Hello, Mr. Stone. I would like to ask you, what was the toughest part through that process about James Harden's trade? And also, what are your first impressions about Victor Oladipo as a person?
I'll start with Vic. It's like great. All our background on him was wonderful. Really, really good guy. Was able to spend some time with him yesterday in person. Really fun. Over the phone, really nice. First thing he did was ask for video so that he could kind of independently study our offense and defense to make sure that he's up to speed. So I'm as excited as you can be about Victor and bring him in the fold. I think he's the background we have on him is that he's exactly the type of person that we like in this organization. I don't even remember your first question, but I think it was related to the process and probably wasn't going to answer it anyway. So we can just keep going.
Ben DuBose.
Rafael, you have a couple of veterans in Victor and PJ with contracts that expire after this season. Obviously, NBA teams want to avoid the scenario of potentially losing a guy for no compensation. What's your view on the expirings, and are you open, depending on circumstances, to potentially discussing extensions with their representatives?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're always open to anything with anyone. And it's all circumstantially dependent. And if it makes sense then for them, it makes sense for us, then we would always be open. And so I don't, I guess we do our best not to predetermine outcomes. And so, yeah, I would just say that.
𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧.
Hey, Rafael, does the occurrence in recent years of players moving teams with multiple years left on their contract change the calculus or affect roster construction for you as a GM? And how far do you think this team is away from becoming a contender?
The answer on the second one is we have to give this team time to gel, and so I don't know exactly where we are. Again, I'm really excited to go through the process. I think we're going to be very, very competitive right away, but these guys they literally, I think, are starting practice in 15 minutes for the first time. So it's hard to tell you exactly where they're at. And on the first one, I don't think it's really changed much. I think the publicity around it and the public perception has maybe changed more than the reality. So I think from a roster construction perspective, you're always doing the same thing, which is, trying to figure out, how to gain a competitive advantage over 29 teams and then seeing if you can make it through, with the caveat that it always requires a little luck, whether it's injury or, a call or a rebound or whatever it is. The sport is not perfectly linear.
Kim Davis.
Rafael, can you talk two things? One, I know that you have nothing but great things to say about James, but just how important it was to get to the point now where you kind of know what you're working with, and this team can start to gel and be who they're going to be. And also, with James has been the face of this organization for so many years, in terms of the identity of the Rockets, what would you tell fans that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think the identity of the Rockets question, I think we're going to be a team that plays a really fun style. We're going to play with a lot of pace, going to be open, and we're going to really, really defend and get after it on that end. That's the identity, I think, that we're going to build. Again, given preseason, practice time, roster construction, trades, everything that's happened, that's something that is in process, right? That's not who we are this second. But that's kind of the vision that I share with Steven, and I do expect that will end up being the case. And I apologize, but I forgot the first piece of your question.
I just asked about being able to turn the page, if you will, not necessarily, as you said, James was great for the organization, being able to know who you are moving forward and to have that limbo kind of behind you, how helpful that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's not as big a deal. I do think it's helpful for Steven and for the group to, it's not a huge deal for me. But again, I think for Steven and the players, I think that they are really excited to tackle the challenge and everything. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Michael Shapiro.
Hey, Rafael, it's been a pretty turbulent start to the season on a number of fronts. How would you assess how Silas has handled everything thus far?
Yeah, Steven's a cool dude. I think it was Jonathan or somebody who wrote a piece about that. But I think the best description of Steven as a person is he's just cool. And I think he's handled everything very well, with grace and intelligently, and with a lot of integrity. So very happy with him. And the guys play hard, and I think you've seen that the last couple of nights. So we're starting a little bit behind with this group, just because it came together so late. But hopefully we can build something really cool.
Thank you.
We'll take three more. Jonathan Fagan.
Yeah, thanks for reading. I hope you subscribed. Tracy didn't do a clip for you. James said that he reached his decision right after the bubble, and that especially with Mike and Daryl leaving, do you feel like he gave you, Steven, John, Christian Wood, do you think he gave that group a fair chance?
You know, I mean, James is entitled to his own opinion and to do whatever he wants. I mean, my sense is that the bubble experience was not, you know, I was there. It was wearing and hard on all of us. And my sense is that he made some decisions then. And so he's entitled to make his decisions whenever he wants. And you know, with all people, once you make them, you know, it's where you are. So, you know, I think that it feels as though that's what happened. And he's, you know, and so that's all I'll say.
Well, you know, obviously he has that right to have any opinion, just as we all do. But would you have liked to have seen him give new people a chance? None of you were in the position you were in before.
No, that's for sure true. I think I don't know. I would say that it played out the way it played out, right? So like there's no regrets. We had a great talk a couple of days ago, right? You know, when the deal was finalizing, and we're personally on very good terms. He's personally on very good terms with the organization, and you know, it just kind of is what it is. So like, I don't want to be in a position where like, oh, I wish he would have done this or I wish he would have done that. Like, the reality is, you know, you don't know how those things turn out. Sometimes if he had, it turns out worse. Like, who knows, right? So I think that, you know, he came to the decision he came to, and then we all, you know, we'll move forward. And I honestly, I you know, he's a great basketball player. I wish him nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Adam Spolin.
You were part of the process that brought James in, you know, 8 years ago, and you know how hard it was to get someone of his caliber. Does that make it tougher to trade him, knowing that you may not, knowing how difficult it is to get someone that good?
It is. You know, one of the interesting things about it with James is that no one in this organization knew he was going to end up as good as he ended up, right? So it was a testimony to his work ethic, and that he exceeded expectations. And so he's not the only person in the world who can do that, you know? So, you know, so it's incumbent upon us to find a group that can collectively do that. And I think the real answer to your question is no, only in that it's part of the game, it's part of the job. And, you know, and it's okay. It's very important that when you do these types of transactions that, you know, people feel as though, you know, it's equitable and it's reasonable. And I think we ended up feeling that way. And so, you know, so it is what it is, but no, I mean, like, it's all a part of the process.
And last question, Dave Hardesty.
Hey, Rafael, I really have two questions. First, Stephen has credited you a lot for discovering Jae'Sean Tate. What has been your impression of his play so far? And the other question is, at least the perception is that you guys are significantly retooling, and with the picks that you've picked up and the expiring contracts, do you anticipate going into the deadline that you guys will be busier than a normal season?
Yeah, so I think we'll be busy. I think the Rockets historically have been busy, and I think that that's the case too. We have one of the nice things coming out of this deal is we have a very large trade exception, which is going to allow us to go all the way back up to the hard cap. So I think we're going to be aggressively trying to use that. And then on JT, yeah, like he was a guy who I flagged about a year ago, and it wasn't just me, actually. It was myself and Eli who first took a look at him. And so yeah, we're really happy with him. He's a really interesting player who kind of fits, I think, the way basketball is evolving. He's multi-positional. He's very skilled. He's a very good defender. He just contributes to winning in a variety of ways. So we're really excited for him that he's gotten off to a good start, and really excited to see where he can go in his career.
Thank you, Rafael. We appreciate your time.